Hello guys and welcome back to the course. Okay, now we are in Adobe After Effects and this is Adobe After Effects. This is the interface when you open Adobe After Effects, and this is the interface you see. Okay, this is Adobe After Effects 2022, and if you do not have Adobe After Effects, you can buy it from their website or find a way to download it and have it on your computer, and then yeah, you can now open it. If you do not have it, or if you're not interested in learning it, this is not a compulsory part of the course. And if you want to learn more, you can actually enroll on my course on motion graphics in Adobe After Effects, where we covered everything about Adobe After Effects and how to create motion graphics with Adobe After Effects. Okay, now this is going to be a quick one. We are not going to take care of learning every single function. You're just going to do as I do. Okay, in case you are a beginner to Adobe After Effects, so you're just going to do as I do. I might not explain why I do some things. I'm just going to go first and try to create the animation so you see how to create it. Okay, so the first thing you do when you come to Adobe After Effects, in order to start a project, you have to create a new composition. Okay, that's the first thing you do. So come here where it says create a new composition and click here, or come here to this point where it says create new composition and click, or come to this file and then new. You can come to composition and then new composition, or control N. Okay, and that's the way to open a new composition. And if your interface is not set up like this, you can just come to Windows and workspace and then reset. Okay, reset to default, and you're just going to have everything set up like this. So I'm going to just create a new composition here, and now you see that we can now put the name of our composition and the size. And remember, in Adobe Illustrator we choose a full HD, that's 1920 by 1080p. right now this is the preset, and you can just click OK to choose this size right away. Now we also have some settings here for frame rates. Let's make this 30. So it's 30 frames per second. So a frame is an image. Okay, so it means in 1 second of animation there will be 30 images to fill in 1 second of movement. Okay, so that's the idea of frame rate. And then for resolution, it's the quality of the work, and the higher the resolution, the more graphically intensive the work is. So we're just going to choose high or full resolution for here. There is a way to change it later on. And then for duration, we see that here is the seconds. So here is currently 12 seconds. Let's make it 20, and we now have the milliseconds, and we have the minutes and hours. So for background color, you can click here to choose a background color. We'll choose white. Okay, and then create. Now this is our new composition, and I'm just using my mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out. Okay, now the next thing I'll do here is come here to my composition and double click here, and then come to my folder, that's my animation folder, and click on the file, that's the logo animation file. And when you click on the file, just come to import as down here and choose composition, retain layer sizes. So click here, and now you then click import. Now it takes time to import your file, and now you see that it has imported it as an Adobe Illustrator file. So here are the layers, okay, in this folder, and here is the new composition it has created. So if you double click here, you see that this is now our logo. Perfect. Okay, now from here on we can start animating our logo. And what I want to do right now is I want to edit the size of this composition, because the type of animation I want to do might kind of go out of this boundaries. So just come to composition again, and then composition settings, and I will now be able to edit this composition size. Okay, so for the size and width, for the width and height, I will just click here to lock the aspect ratio, so it means they will be resizing together. So I'm just going to resize them like this, and then click OK, and I can now work with this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an animation where all of these parts will be moving, and we basically have the same thing here as this. So we don't want to redo this. Okay, we don't want to do this over and over again. So what we will just do is we'll have this animated and then duplicate it and rotate it to look like this one, so that we don't have to redo the whole thing. Okay, now before I start, I'm going to select all my layers. So you can see all my layers. I'm going to select the first one and then hold down shift and click the last one to select all of them. And then I'm going to right click on them and then go to create and create shapes from vector layers. So click here and you can see that it has created now new shapes from the layers. Now I'm just going to click anyone like this, not just click but click and hold, and then drag to the topmost part. That's the second part like this, where you see this this blue line appear. So click it to that place and then release it. And we see that all the layers are now brought on top of the vector layers. Now we can now select all the vector layers, okay, and delete. Now what we've done is we've created layers that Adobe After Effects understands very well from our existing layers. Okay, now these layers have been created to behave like a native Adobe After Effects layer. So it means if you click on it, you'll be able to change the color. Sorry, you'll be able to change the color. Okay, you'll be able to change the stroke and do a whole lot of things with this layer. Okay, so that's what we just did. Now, in order to start, I'm going to start by creating a new null object. Now, a null object is basically a null object. Okay, it means it's empty. It's an empty object. And what we use a null object for in After Effects is to kind of control multiple parts together, like multiple objects together. So that's one of the uses of null objects. So I'm going to go to File, Layer, and go to New, and then Null Object. Now we can see that this is our null object. We see it null 1. Okay, so it doesn't have anything in it, and we have to parent objects to it in order for it to manipulate their transform properties. Okay, now what I would now do is click on my null object, then come here and click on this tool, which is the pan behind tool. Click on it and then come here and click on snapping, and then come to this anchor point where you see this where you see this anchor, like this icon here. So click on it and drag it. Now we see that it's moving. It's moving. Now just keep it here at the middle like this, where the vertical and horizontal intersect. Okay, so that's what we want to do first of all. Then the next thing we will do is come here and select our selection tool, click, and then drag the whole thing to this edge here, this last edge here. Drag the whole thing to this last edge here. Perfect. Now the next thing we will do is now select our guys here. That's the first one. Okay, not necessarily the first one, whatever layer you can select. Okay, let's start with the first one. So select the first one and select this tool once more, and then drag the anchor point. Apparently it's at the middle, and drag it like this to snap to this point. This particular point we snapped the other one to. And now select the next layer, click here on the anchor point and drag it also to that point. And finally select the third one, the third layer, and click here to drag it to that particular point like this. Perfect. And we have all of them at this point, and we also have our null object at this point. Okay, now the next thing I will do is I'm going to just hide this our layer here. These are layers here. These are other part of the logo. So I'm just going to click here to hide, click here and click here to fully hide it, and we're just going to animate this one. So the first thing we'll do is select all our layers here and hit R. Okay, hit R on your keyboard, then come to 2 seconds. Okay, you see this is the timeline. This is the timeline, and this is the timeline where our animations will be playing on. You see, you remember we selected 20 seconds for the duration of the animation. Okay, so our timeline is for 20 seconds. And now let's just drag and bring this to 2, and then where you see this bell icon, this stopwatch icon, click on it while selecting the 3 layers. Okay, click on it, and it's going to create this stuff here, this points here. Now these are what we call keyframes. Okay, keyframes, and they help us to create our animations. Okay, and before I continue, I just want to explain to you the types of animations. We have frame by frame animations and we have keyframing animation. Now the frame by frame animation is where you are responsible for creating the frames of the animation, like the one we just looked at in Adobe Illustrator for the GIF format animation. Okay, that project we did in, I think, the first video of this module. So that's an example of a frame by frame animation, because you are responsible for drawing out each frame of the animation. Okay, so you draw out each frame of the animation and bring it into a software like Adobe Illustrator, or sorry, like Adobe After Effects or Adobe Premiere Pro, or even that GIF maker, that GIF maker like that we used. You can bring it into that software, and then that software will be responsible for turning your images into a video. Okay, it's going to combine all your frames into a single video using your frame rates. That's the amount of frames or images you specified for a second movement of animation. Okay, if you understand that. So that's basically it for frame by frame animation. While for keyframing animation, which we are going to be using here, all you need to do is to specify the position or the direction or the rotation or whatever property you're trying to animate. You should specify it for different timelines, and then the software will automatically create those keyframes for you by itself. Okay, so let's see, let me just explain this instead of continuing with the whole thing. So let's say we want to create let's say shape layer. Okay, so we create a new shape layer and we have this shape here. Okay, so we have this shape with this stroke color and this fill color, and now this is our shape layer here. So when you hit P, it's going to bring up the position properties for this layer. So if you click here and then come to 3 seconds and then click on the layer and move it here and move it to one other side, okay, one other location or position, we have now been able to create a keyframe animation. Now if we come back to our first location and then play our animation, we can see that our animation moves from our first location to our second location. Now that's a perfect example of keyframing animation. All we needed to do was specify the positions for the first keyframe. That's the first keyframe, which is at 2 seconds, and then the second one, which is after 1 second. Okay, and Adobe After Effects now creates this movement for us, and we can actually export this movement as frames like we did with Adobe Illustrator. Okay, that's just for you to understand. So I'm just going to delete the layer itself and continue my work. Now I'm selecting everything here. That's 1, 2, 3 layers. We now have our keyframe created, and I'm using the spacebar and the mouse button to actually pan around my viewport. So when I create my keyframes here, the next thing I'll do is go to my 0 second. Okay, go to the start of this, and then now come and select this rotation tool. Okay, now for this tool, I'm just going to now rotate them like this. Perfect. And then what I will now do is just mess with the positions of the first keyframes here so that they happen at different times. So if we have this, if we play this, we'll see it happen like this, right? Perfect. Now this is an example of a basic animation. Now we can just play around with them to see the kind of animation we want to achieve. Okay, so let me just undo, and let's now edit the position of these other ones. Perfect. Now what we want to do now is select all of them and right click like this on one of them, and go to keyframe assistant and then easy ease. Now easy ease kind of smoothens our animation and makes it more interesting. Okay, now you see that it starts very slow then speeds up in the middle and then slows down at the end. So that's easy ease. And if we come and click here, we'll be able to go to what is called the graph editor, and then marquee selects our keyframes like this. Just drag like this and drag like this, and doing and this makes our keyframes very interesting, okay, and makes our animation very interesting. Now we see that we've modified the speeds of our animation. Perfect. So I'm just going to reduce the speed of our animation by editing our keyframes here like this, moving them. I'm going to select everything here and just make everything start on the first second like this. Perfect. Perfect. And we can do with some more modification of our keyframes just to achieve more complexities, okay? So I'm using Ctrl Z to undo the changes I don't want. So guys, I'm going to settle for this one. And let me play it one more time. Maybe we can just move or shorten our animation a bit. Yep, so I like this. Now the next thing I'll do is select all of them, then come here to this point, to a point like this, then hit S for scale, and it's going to bring up our scale properties. So now I'm just going to click on this stopwatch icon again, click on it, and then we see that 3 keyframes have been created here. So I'm going to drag it down like this, and now come and click here and hit 0 and type 0, and we see that all our keyframes here have been edited because all our layers are selected, and we have our scale value moved down to 0. So we have this like this, and I just want to kind of bring these ones a little bit further, maybe like this. Just see how everything plays out. I kind of like the way the whole thing is starting to look. I'm going to select all our keyframes, right click, easy ease, and play to see what we have. Perfect. So I like what we are having so far. Maybe I'll just play around with some of these keyframes to see what they can look like. Okay, so perfect. I like this, and we'll just go with this. Now we can close our layers like this, and we know that these are the layers we worked with, right? And now for this our null object, what we are now going to do is select these 3 layers which we've worked on, and come here where you see the parent pick whip tool. Okay, that's parent pick, that's this one. So drag it like this, and now drop it on the null object, and we can now see that all of these guys are now controlled by this one. So if we move it, we now move all of them. Okay, so now the next thing will be to duplicate our animation. Okay, we need to duplicate our animation now. So let me once more be very sure I want to proceed with this keyframe. So selecting all of them, I'm just going to hit U, and all the keyframes will then appear. Let's play them once more, and you know what, I'm going to reduce the duration of these ones, of this last keyframes here. Maybe reduce them like this and see. Perfect. So I like what we have so far, guys. Right now we have to duplicate them, and we're going to actually create another null object, and let's just create a null object when we are done duplicating them. So selecting all of them like this, I'm going to once more come to edit and duplicate, Control D. This is duplicate and it's Control D. So I'm going to Control D, and then I'm going to bring the new ones above the old ones, and I'm going to just select them like this and bring them to this side. Okay, now we need to create a null object for them, and go to File, New, Null Object, and it's the null object 2. Right now for this one we have to bring the null object here, right? So just select the null object and bring it here, and we need to actually centralize it first. Centralize the anchor point for the null object and then bring it here. Good, to this point. Now we then need to select all our new shapes, that's the ones we duplicated, and then come and parent them to the null object like we did before, and now they are now connected to the null object. Now I'm going to just enable our original designs, our original layers for this part, and then try to fit our new designs, our new duplicated shapes to fit like this ones. Okay, so I'm going to, while selecting my null object, my null object 2, I'm going to come here to this tool where it says rotation tool and click on it, and now I will just now come here and just drag. Sorry, my keyboard is misbehaving. It's using I for Z. And I'm going to select my null object and just kind of, now it's going to be a little bit hard. Okay, so this will do. So now we can just click on the null object and then rotate it in order to rotate the whole shapes because it's controlling them. So I will now select my selection tool and try to fit the new guys with the old guys. Now for these old guys, where are they? I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to just select them like this. Let me be sure I'm selecting them. Good. I'm going to just hit T for transparency or opacity, and then reduce the opacity like this so that we just see them faintly, and that will enable us perfectly fit the new guys in. So take your rotation tool again and rotate everything to look like the old one, and then perfect. Now we have them perfect, and the next thing we'll do is select the 3 old ones and we now delete them because we do not need them. Now if we come and now play our animation, we see that our animation now plays perfectly. Okay, now this is our new logo animation, and we're still creating it. We're not done yet. Now perfect. Now we can see that we have achieved a bit of complexity here because of all these parts that are animating separately. So they animate separately and then come and become one. Alright, perfect. Now the next thing I'll do is I'm just going to kind of work or create keyframes on my null objects. So this null object, I'm going to hit R for rotation, and then come here. So create a keyframe here, come here and do this like this. Sorry, let me just undo it first. So create a keyframe here, then come behind, not ahead, and do this. So let's actually tick this backwards like this. I'm going to just undo, and this might take some practice. I haven't achieved what I want to achieve. So I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to come here and create a keyframe here again by clicking on this. Okay, so I'm going to now come to the middle and then try to make my edits, my adjustments in the middle like this. Okay, so let me just play it and see what we now have. Okay, as you can see, we are achieving different versions of our animations by simply playing around with our keyframes. Okay, I'm going to select everything here, right click, sorry, not this, right click, keyframe assistant and easy ease. So let's just go to our graph editor, select this last keyframe and kind of do something like this. Good, so that it slows down and then settles. Perfect, guys. So I like what we have so far, and we will just close this null object and then move to the next thing. Okay, now the next thing will be for us to kind of animate this our shapes, right? These are our characters, right? Now we'll just select them. Thank God we kind of edited them by bringing them like this. Okay, I mean by arranging them alphabetically, that's sequentially rather. Okay, now for you, I'm not going to select you because it's a special character. I'm going to create a special animation for it, and then we're going to jump to E, N, C, and 4, and 4 rather, not 4, this one, E, the last E. Okay, so let me be sure we have them. Perfect. Now the next thing we'll do, just come to our first second and hit S for scale and create a keyframe here, and come to the 0 second and hit 0. Perfect. So they're scaling up like this. Okay, now we can select all our keyframes, right click, easy ease, and when we play we see them scaling up like this. Now I just want to reduce the duration of our animation. It's too long, it's too slow rather. Perfect. So this is what we have so far, and then what I will now do is I'm going to kind of edit their positioning. Okay, now we're going to start with S. Now for S, we're going to hit P, and then we're going to create a keyframe here, and then come to 0 second and take the object outside like this. That's to the left hand side of the screen like this. Okay, holding down shift. Okay, so that we have a keyframe here. Select the both keyframes, right click, easy ease. So we have this. Okay, we have this. Perfect. And we basically want to create this for all the others. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this one, copy, and then bring it to the next character, which is this one, which is E, right? So I'm going to hit S on E and then Control V. Okay, so hit S and then, sorry, not S, I don't need to hit S, it's actually the position. It's P, not S. So okay, I just undid and it took me back to before I added easy ease. So I'm just going to add easy ease again. Then we see that it's on the position, right? Now hit P here and then copy, Control C, okay, or go to edit and copy. Now come to the layer and Control V. Okay, now you see that it's pasted it on the layer, right? Now come to this other layer and then hit P for position and Control V. Okay, so this is now what we all have. Okay, and funny enough, there is a mistake I did. I shouldn't have pasted all the keyframes, because this keyframe will just direct our characters to be on the same position as the first one. So you know what we'll do? While on the keyframes like this, select the second one, bring it in front of the first one like this, and then select Q and bring it in front of the second one like this in place. Okay, perfect. So that when we now have it like this, we now have it in place, right? Now for the other ones, we want these other ones to come from here. And for this one, the thing I would do is I'll just kind of offset their layers like this by dragging them like this. So you can do this, okay, or even do it the other way around like this. All depending on what we want. So I like this one better, the second version. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to work on these other ones. Okay, so we're going to skip this one, the U. We're going to skip U, and yeah, we're going to skip U and then work on C, E, and C, E. Okay, now we're going to start on this E. Now for this one, we would want to come here, hit the keyframe. Okay, I'll just do something now. I'll just hit U to see, hit U to see the comparison between the position keyframes and the scale keyframes, right? So that I know where to kind of place my keyframes here, because this is scale, so the position will be a little bit smaller in direction. Okay, so I'm going to select the letters which I'm going to use. That's the E, N, C, and E, and then we're going to come here, okay, and then create a keyframe for them. That's for position, so hit P for position and then create a keyframe, then come to this place and just drag them like this. I'm just going to show you that in a bit. So drag them like this. Start with the first one. Start with the first one. Drag it down to this point while holding down Shift. Okay, down to this point. Second one. Okay, I'll just expose them a bit so that we see where they are. So you know what? I can as well just copy. I can as well just copy this keyframe, this new one here. Okay, for this, just Control C and then just paste it for the other ones. Okay, instead of just doing them individually. Okay, it's more easier. Now when I play, we see that this is what happens, right? And then we'll now just kind of offset our layers. Okay, we'll just offset our layers like we did these other ones. So we'll start by taking this guy or the first one behind and then selecting the two of them and dragging them behind like this. Select this guy behind, and basically this is what we now have. Okay, so what next should we do? We have to select all of them here, right click in easy ease, and when we play you see what's happening. Perfect. And we can just maybe reduce the duration for animations like this, like this. You just play with every other thing, every other setting to what you would want to have. Okay, to the look you want to have. And now we haven't worked on our U, right? For our U, this is our U. We just enable our U. And one thing I want to just add for our U is an effect. So select the U layer and go to effect, and now go to transitions and go to linear wipe. Where is linear wipe? Linear wipe, or sorry, Venetian blinds. Okay, let's use Venetian blinds. And now when I select my guy, that's my layer which I just added the effect to, come here where you see project, and now you see effect control, and now click on this place. Now you see that we now have the effect we just applied here, right? Now if we now we have the transition complete, the direction, the width, and the feather. Now for the transition complete, if we just do this, we see the effect on it, right? We see the effect on it. We see the effect on the letter U, right? So it does this. Perfect. Does this. So we can start with this. Now all we need to do is to come here, okay, maybe come here, okay, and then come and create a keyframe here. You can make this 100 and then create a keyframe, and then just make this 0. Okay, so selecting the layer, hit U, and you're going to see the keyframe here we just created here. Okay, now select the both of them, right click, and then easy ease. Okay, so let's see how it happens now, how it plays out now. Okay, now we can just reduce the duration and maybe adjust the position like this. And then let's select the layer, hit P for position, and let's even add some keyframes on the position. And we will just bring the keyframe here. Just bring the keyframe here, and just go back in time a bit and just drag our layer like this. Okay, and select everything, right click, easy ease. Now hit U for all the keyframes, and let's see how they are arranged. Perfect. Now I'll just play and see what we now have. Select these guys and let's just play with the duration like this. Perfect, guys. So I like what we have so far, and just do some final adjustments here. Perfect, guys. So I'll just leave everything the way it is, and we'll then go on to the next thing. Now we have to maybe adjust the last E. That's this one. Okay, just adjust it like this so it comes earlier. Perfect. Now we are done with our words or with our characters. What I will do is I will select all our character layers and just combine them. Okay, that's from here to here. Just combine them. So in order to group them or to kind of combine them, we're just going to right click and then come to pre-compose. Okay, and you just have move all attributes into new composition and then okay, and now we see that they are now combined into one composition. Okay, and now with this one composition we can maybe just adjust the way they appear or the time they appear on our screen okay, or instead of doing that we can as well adjust the time our logo icon animation appears. Maybe our logo icon should appear earlier. Okay, should appear earlier before our text. So maybe you'll just select, so instead of editing the duration or the positions of these ones, that's the text, I'm going to just select all our logo icon layers and just move them a bit forward in time like this, so that they appear earlier than they are appearing presently. Good. So I play. See that the logo appears and then this one appears. Now I'm just going to offset the text a bit so that they appear after the logo appears, so that our movements are not do not affect each other. Okay, so that our eyes are not just scattered so that our eyes are focused on what is happening from one time to another time, so everything doesn't just happen randomly just at once. Okay, so this is a more better approach to it. We have the icon animating first, then we have the text coming. Perfect, and I'm very satisfied with this. Now I'm going to bring my mouse here and drag this place like this, then right click. I think we should even drag it further. Okay, maybe to almost 10 seconds, that is 10 seconds, and then right click and then go to trim composition to work area. So now we have trimmed our composition, so it's no longer 20 seconds, it's now 10 seconds. And then come to composition and then compose. Okay, wait, instead of coming to composition, let's just come to our new composition, our main composition, the one we created, and then go to projects, and now where you see logo animation, just drag it in here, and now we have our animation in our new composition. Okay, now we can hit S for scale and reduce the size of our animation like this. Perfect. And one other thing we can do is we can scale our animation or our composition. So when it's at this point, we can scale it. We can create a keyframe on our scale. Then when it's here, we just scale it to say this size. Okay, so that we just have a subtle kind of movement. So select all of the keyframes, right click, easy ease, and I'm just going to do the same thing I did in the other composition. I'm going to trim this, okay, and trim comp to work area. And then one final thing I'll do is I'm going to make this fade out. So I'm going to come to my 9-second, click here, hit T for opacity, create a keyframe here, then come to the last second and take it to 0 and select everything, right click, easy keyframe assistant and easy ease, and when I play we see what happens. So we see that the animation, the main animation happens. Okay, the main animation plays out, and then we have a scale animation, a subtle scale animation. In fact, I think we should add, easy ease. Okay, we actually added easy ease to our scale animation. I actually wanted to say we should add easy ease. Okay, Now there's one final thing we can enable, that's the motion blur. So this is the motion blur effect here, so click on it and then come here and just go to your main animation and enable motion blur for all the layers. So just select all the layers like this and click here to enable motion blur for all of them. And then you can also go into this pre-composition, that's the combined text layers, and select everything and enable motion blur. Motion blur gives us some sense of realism. Okay, it makes our motion smooth, and if I just zoom in, you can see this blurriness as it moves. Okay, so that's the effect of motion blur. And finally, we are done with our animation. I'm just going to export our animation and just come to your main composition and go to File, go to Export, go to Add to Render Queue. You can click on Add to Render Queue. Now we have this place opened. Now this is where we can render our file. Now we click on best settings and we can choose different settings for our animation. Basically, I'll just leave it as it is, then click on high quality here, and then now we can choose the format. Now it's going to so let's choose QuickTime, and it's going to export it as a QuickTime format in QuickTime format, and then we can take it to a software like Premiere Pro to change the format to maybe MP4 format, so we can play on our phones easily and our computers easily. Okay, and basically this is what we need to ensure here, and basically leave everything the way it is and okay. Then come here to output 2 and click here, and then you go to your file, to your folder rather, and then name it logo animation After Effects, and then just click save. And then now all you need to do is to click render. I'm just going to click render and we'll come back when it's rendered. Yes guys, so After Effects is done rendering our animation, and if we go to our folder right now, we can see that this is the file. This is the file, okay. And if I play it here, it might not play because I think I do not have QuickTime Player installed. But all we now need to do is to go to Premiere Pro. So I'm going to open Premiere Pro and convert it quickly. Okay, so let's open Premiere Pro. Good guys, so this is now our project. The next thing I'll do is go to File and then go to Import. Okay, and I'll just come to the animation folder and select the file here. That's the logo animation file, the QuickTime file, that's the MOV file, and then click open. And just going to take time to import our logo animation. Now it has imported our logo animation. All we then need to do is select it, right click, and then go to new sequence from clip. Now we have a new sequence from our clip, and then from here on, if we have music, we can add music to the background like this. But if we do not have music, we can just go then to File right away, then go to Export, and then Media. And then here on the media, you can see that we have a preview of our animation here. Okay, now we can use this format, this H.264. This is the MT4 format, and for preset we can just use high bitrate. And then for the output name, we can click on the output name and then go to our location and make sure it's on our location, it's saved on our location. So save. And then basically that's all we need to do. We can choose to render at maximum depth, and basically that's all we need to do, and then just click export. Now we see the potential size of our file, which is 12 MB, as compared to the initial file, which is 29 MB. That's the QuickTime format, it's 29 MB. So by exporting into MP4 format, we reduce the file size of our animation, and that's good. So click export and just wait for Adobe Premiere Pro to export our project. Perfect, now our project has been exported. Now I'm just going to go to our folder, and now you can see that this is our project. It's not even up to 12 MB, it's just 5.43 MB. Now you can delete this guy. Okay, I'm just going to close Premiere Pro. I don't need to save it. Okay, and I can now delete this one. And then now I'm just going to play my animation and we'll see how it plays. Okay, so this is my animation, and so this is our animation. Simple, clean, and sweet. Perfect, guys. So that's how you create animations in Adobe After Effects. That's using your Adobe Illustrator files into Adobe After Effects and then creating animations from them. And that'll be it for this one, guys. And all the files and folders will be made available for you so you can follow along. Okay, that'll be it for this lecture, guys. See you guys in the next one, which should be the conclusion of the course. Bye bye.